Hi everyone, my name is Tara, and this is my friend
Shona Lynn Holman.
and she's about to tell you the same story that she told me, and it is sad. It's about abuse. It is about how she got her disability and what she's going through when it concerns age and what the system has done to her, quite essentially. And there will be some trigger points in here, and if you guys don't like being emotionally grabbed by someone's story, I'd suggest scrolling on. But her story very much resonates mine, but at a degree that could have killed her. And this is a lesson for all of us that might be in a relationship or experiencing abuse, because this lady, she's a fantastic, very beautiful mother of 9 who is basically left for dead. Here's her story. Shauna, she's all yours.
So I grew up in small towns around Alberta, and I ended up in several really bad relationships over my life. My last one, he started using drugs at an extreme level, and decided that he was going to go ahead and start leaving little information, like telling me that, this person that he cared about never got a chance to raise her kids because her mom took them away before she could because she did too much alcohol and drugs, and that he felt she deserved the right to raise her kids and stuff. She deserved a chance to raise kids and stuff like that. And then eventually he showed up at my house, and after making other comments to make me think he was going to kidnap our son, showed up at my place, and I was trying to convince him not to do that, but when I went with him, he had a note saying that I was cheating on him with this girl's boyfriend, and pretending he didn't know who it was. It ended up being his ex-girlfriend, of course, that, clearly they weren't so ex. And so he drove me out to a lease road in the middle of the field somewhere, and was just degrading me, telling me how sick I was, gross. Such a whore, and cheated. He didn't even know our kid was mine. And eventually I got a hold of the guy he was accusing me of sleeping with, and he told me that the only person who would do something like that was their ex-girlfriend, because she did actually date both of them. So I got mad and got out of the vehicle. He was screaming, "Get the F back in the vehicle." I was like, "F you, don't you have to go to frickin' go sleep with her," or stuff like that. And he came up behind me and he was hugging me, and it was so cold out. It was actually family day.
It's alright. I'll get you some cleanup.
It was family day 2021, so the 15th, the day after Valentine's Day.
So this happened during COVID, didn't it?
Yep, during COVID. And so I started calming down, and I was going to get back in the vehicle, but then I felt my phone being slipped out of my pocket, and he pushed me and he ran back to the vehicle. And I was so mad, I decided I was just going to keep walking away, and I thought, well, that's really dumb, because believe it or not, there was enough violence before this that he already had a no contact order. So I was like, that was really dumb. He knows I'm going to have to report that. He's got my phone. And thank you. And then I thought, if I get back to town, in that note it said that she had threatened to slit my throat and take my baby. So slit my throat, take my baby. I've realized there was something really bad actually happening, and I started to run. And I ran so hard my shoes came off my feet, and the ice was cutting the bottoms of my feet so bad. But I kept running until I couldn't run no more, and I fell, and I couldn't get back up. So I tried rolling to the into the shadows, just trying to make sure he couldn't come get me. And I held my brother and I could hear him running, so I knew he was coming. I was so scared. I was like, oh, he's probably found his knife and he's gonna slip my throat. So I had my eyes closed and I just heard him get close and I screamed really loud, I deserve to die for loving you. And he stopped for a second and then he picked me up and he opened my jacket and started kicking snow into my armpits and stuff, and I realized he was trying to lower my body temperature, and I didn't say anything and I didn't move. and then the only time I said something is he spit on me and I said, I don't want to taste her. So, I mean, that was definitely, I don't react well to bad situations. So anyways, yeah, he just kicked snow on me and stuff and then told me, oh, you say I never finish anything. Well, I'm going to finish this. And walked back to his vehicle. I still didn't move because I figured...
Was this even on the news?
No. This wasn't on the news.
Damn.
I went back to the car and... he went back to the car and I still stayed still because I was like... He's trying to lower my body temperature. I'm laying still, and he's leaving. But I was still scared he was there. Mm-hmm. So it was only about 5 minutes, and then I heard his car again, so I know that he actually did stay for a bit to make sure I didn't move. And then when I was sure he was gone, I tried standing up, and I still couldn't stand up, so I was crawling back to try and find my shoes. But I couldn't find them. This was like 10-something at night. I guess I should have seen the houses on the other side of the road, but there was no lights or anything, and I was trying to find out who this person is who said they were going to slit my throat and take my baby. So, once he left, I tried finding my shoes and I couldn't find them, and then I couldn't feel my feet anymore, so I could stand on them. And I walked down the hill towards the one light that I could see where I could hear dogs barking. And there was a fence, so I figured I'd have to go through a fence. But when I got closer to the fence, it was all slushy under the water, so I was in some kind of slough or something. So I was soaked and I had to pull myself along with the fence to get out of there. And I kept going along the fence and I saw a dead tree fell over, so I thought, I'm gonna be able to make a fire. I can save myself. And so my feet gave out on my way to the tree and I had to pull myself there. And then I tried making a fire, but it was like minus 30 or something. I don't know, with the wind chill and everything that night. So my lighter wouldn't stay lit and eventually ran out of fuel. So I wasn't able to make this. So I sat there crying, and I had a coat and I wrapped it around me twice, and I was breathing in it and then screaming, help, I need help, I'm frozen to the ground, I need help, all night. In the morning I heard people and they got on quads, they were looking for me, and they kept screaming and screaming, I'm over here by the fence, I'm on the other side of the fence where the tree fell over. And they stopped a couple times and I'd keep screaming, and then I lost my voice from screaming all night. So they couldn't find me, and they went back and they said I called the police, I guess, but the police didn't come.
Yeah, these days they kind of take forever, don't they?
Yeah, but so I still was crying, but I looked up and I saw there was smoke coming out of a chimney. I was like, well, Shona, no one else is gonna save you. You're gonna have to save yourself. So I started smashing my feet out of the ice. And, well, my bear was frozen to the ground too, so I had to pee myself and wiggle in it to try and break free. But then it was getting slushy again. Yeah. So I pushed all I could to get everything out. And when it started getting slushy again, I knew there was nothing else I could do, so I grabbed that tree and I pulled myself off. And then I threw my legs and used my arm like a paddle and started making my way across the field. And eventually somebody was walking their dog and saw me and said that there was a creepy person coming towards their houses. And then the police came.
All those cuts there on your arms, those old scars, are they from husband?
No, this is from a barbed wire fence when I was 9, that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I did
Hey.
cut when I was a teenager because I was in a lot of abusive situations then too.
You've been through
My
the
whole
ringer like I
life.
have.
My whole life.
Yeah.
But I think what I found the worst about all of this, like, was that I did not qualify for AISH.
Why was that?
Apparently, I don't qualify for AISH because having no feet is not a severe enough
Bullshit.
injury.
If you have a hard time dressing yourself, if you cannot walk without some sort of aid, or you need an aid of some sort, you should qualify for AISH. I don't give two. I mean, I have autism. Should have I qualified for AISH? I would be considered high functioning by neurotypical standards, but I still got AISH. So therefore, they're a bunch of line pieces and you know what?
Well,
Because I have friends that have similar disabilities and clients with similar disabilities that have no legs and they are on AISH. Okay,
but my stumps are also sensitive, like, to my emotions. So if I'm emotional and after
You
all
feel
this,
it.
I'm emotional. Yeah, it's harder. It messes with the nerves.
Yeah, it does. Because
So
your brain is.
If I'm hurt
affecting
or
your body.
upset or anything, it's hard to walk.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it at first pretty good, but I was under threat at that point. Children's Services actually told me that I could never see my kid again because it would be too traumatic for him to see me without feet.
So
It's-
they blamed your disability for not being able to be a mom.
Yeah, because I have a history with Children's Services where we've not got along for years. I've advocated against them so many times. They actually went to the length of discriminating against a person with disabilities to keep me from my son.
That seems to be a going story for a lot of people with disabilities, whatever culture you're from or what kind of background. If you have a disability of any kind, you're pretty much right in line with our own indigenous culture. My husband likes to be called a native, but I'm not sure. I'm trying to be politically correct here as much as my brain can handle. When it comes to native populations, people with disabilities are just as discriminated against in that sense with having their kids taken away. There was one time I knew of a lady with a disability that was high functioning like mine. She had a newborn son. There was no paperwork or anything like that. But there is this thing in our government system and as well as the hospital system that flags people with disabilities and indigenous people who have had newborn babies as high risk child beaters and stuff, even though if there's no proof or paperwork.
Your race does not go ahead and determine that.
No, it doesn't.
What I find determines that is the fact that Children's Services has been taking children religiously
For years.
Since
For years.
it started mostly with the schools there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, normal parents with kids with disabilities, when I was a kid, were constantly berated by child services because their kid was disabled, and they kept on going to the parents and saying, I'm sorry, but your kid has a disability and they will never amount to anything, so therefore her care would be better off in a facility, even though I was, knee-high to a grasshopper.
Oh.
And this happens to neurotypical parents too.
Yeah, well, I remember when I was first looking into the residential schoolings and stuff like that, I actually got to read a letter at one point that basically said that here's bunch of blankets from a boat
Yeah.
that had an
And
outbreak of smallpox.
Yeah, yeah,
And
I
basically,
read that. Yeah.
basically said, yeah,
I
you have
learned
the
that
right
in
to
socials.
beat the savage out of them by
Yeah.
any means necessary. Like, who's the savages? We were the savages.
Yeah.
And from that point on, they've always took
Indigenous or native.
children at an accelerated rate to try and conform them to whatever they want people to be.
It's right up there with ABA practices. ABA is applied behavioral therapy, for which trains neurodiverse people how to be normal.
And that's the
I'm
thing.
not allowed to be this.
We're all normal. Like,
What's normal?
It's
It's a thing on a washing machine.
that hard thing for me to say. I just call them people, but anyways, what they went through for their
Hell.
culture
Yeah, they lost everything.
has created a situation where they've got 10, 15 generations of being in the system, having
As
their
well as,
children
FASD.
and family and everyone else taken from there,
Along with FASD being very high in a lot of families, and it's multi-generational.
causing complete
Utter chaos.
anguish and trauma to all family members involved, creating a situation they can come back in and attack the people they just damaged.
Yeah.
That's what Children's
accurate.
Services did with my family and so many others, and it's sickening. I have a granddaughter I haven't even met because I'm scared to see her because Children's Services might go after her next. I mean, I've had enough crap from everyone.
Yeah. My husband was a member of the social service system because he is part native. So I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Although I'm just one stupid white person that's married to an indigenous person. Like, I love my husband. He's the world to me. And if I lost him tomorrow, I would not be able to go on without him.
I was trying to advocate about the residential schools and stuff back in 2012 when I found out about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it took this many years for anybody to really get it out there. So, I mean, I don't have much hope for,
Yeah.
for
What's in
any of
power.
what I'm going to be able to do, but hopefully, somebody out there learns from this and
Yeah.
realizes,
That's pretty much what I am hoping when it comes to this. So when it came to AISH and the system that kind of, well, where I found you today was on White, begging for money, not even 2 doors down from the TD bank that I frequent. And I saw this blue sign and this lovely lady with no legs in a chair trying to get food because AISH won't give her money or won't let her on AISH because she can't work because of her disability. And her son is has a lot of trauma himself, and he can't work because of that trauma. I would, if I was a social worker that denied you AISH, I would be...
we're all collateral damage.
Yeah.
But it all started with Children's Services creating the initial damage.
Yeah.
I mean, Children's Services told me I wasn't allowed to call the police for help, which is not only illegal but terrorism. And the big thing about everything that I'm going through right now is I was supposed to try and get those transcripts.
How would you get those transcripts?
Well, they're
Isn't-
over $7,000 for these transcripts.
Exactly.
But in the transcripts, they admit that they told me that I could not call the police. And the transcripts actually show that the judge was state right there. I was the judge who granted the initial apprehension. And he's the one who gave Children's Services permanent guardianship of my kids. And without those transcripts, I wasn't able to do that. And because I couldn't do it in a timely fashion, I lost my right to appeal. So I've lost my son forever.
So, what is your situation now because of all of this mess? What has it created for you emotionally and on a more home style situation? What would you rather be when it comes to your living situation versus what you are now? What is that story?
Well, I'm grateful that I'm at my son's and everything. I now that my son, we don't always get along. I mean, we're both highly emotional people, especially after everything that happened. He's always terrified for me. Doesn't want me to go out or make friends or know anybody because he's scared something will happen to me. That's hard to live with because I just want to meet people and try and make a life and stuff. And I'll do whatever it takes to survive. So I mean, if I want to have to go down there and try and panhandle for now, that's what I'll do, because the government isn't going to help me. They haven't helped me, and all they've ever done really is destroy me. Besides giving me 3,200, I can't remember the exact amount right now. I'm just like really upset, but they gave me a bunch of money for what happened to me.
And that's run out, and you can't support yourself.
Yeah, I had to pay off all the money from when I was in the hospital for like 3 months and stuff. I've had no way to support myself since. You know what I was given? I was giving income support, but because I lived with my family, I was given less than $500 a month to live on.
And as far as I know, there's a lot of basement suites out there for like $500-600, but what are you going to eat in the process? And a lot of houses are not wheelchair accessible, so therefore, how are you supposed to get into your home once you rent it? And then, how do you get food on top of whatever medication or other things that you might need in order to live?
Well, I mean, $500 with $200 and some of it's supposed to go to my father for rent, but even my dad was like, I usually charge people $400. My dad and me don't actually get along that great, so he just wanted me to buy food for everyone there. So I mean, 5 people, $500 for, yeah, no, that didn't work out so well.
$100 per person. Yeah, okay, that's gonna last about a week.
If that, yeah. So caused a lot of pain and drama there, and I ended up kicked out of my dad's, and then I came to Edmonton, and they were better here. They tried helping me more and stuff, and they put on all these demands, and then I got that payout, and it was just like,
here's your money, fuck off.
Yeah, it got me kicked off of income support for now while I was trying to reapply for AISH and stuff. So I don't even have the paperwork to reapply for AISH, and I'm kicked off for this. And the weird part about that is they told me they were going to try and get me a exemption letter, because that money was supposed to make my life better, not turn around and make it worse. Everything that's been done to me since then. And then the government phone goes ahead and sends me a mail on top of it saying I owe them over $2,000. It's like,
it's one snowball after another.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'll try my luck at panhandling, because I mean, really, they're not doing anything for me. I even tried talking to income support again. I've been trying to call them for over a week now, and every time I call, it says, we can't put you through higher than call volume or whatever, and please call back later or tomorrow. And no matter what time, I can call right first thing in the morning, right till the end. No, call back later or tomorrow, call back later or tomorrow, call back later.
It sounds like you really need an advocate.
How is anyone going to get help right now? Alberta's on fire, and they're not taking anybody else's information, it seems, except for theirs, because that's all the message says.
It's bullshit.
So it's like, how do you get help? I can't. So if we run too short on money and can't afford stuff,
you're on your own.
We're on our own. So for me, it would be best if I was proactive on that. So I went out and tried panhandling. That way, if I can make some money, then we can have that money towards rent later, right? You know what I mean? We're not starving. I got food. Clearly, I'm not starving. I'm an amazing cook, but you know what I mean, though, right? Yeah. Like, if this makes it so we can't afford anything because I can't get a hold of income support and they won't help me in any way if I can't get a hold of them, then I got to be ready for if something happens. So my reason for being out there is because I'm on the street or homeless. It's just stop us from ever ending up there. So I mean, sometimes panhandling isn't for people who are drinking and doing drugs. Sometimes it's for parents who just want to make sure their families are okay.
And sometimes, so this whole snowball of a bad train wreck from hell that you've been gone through in the last, year and a half?
2 years, 2.5 years. Yeah.
Not only has caused you to lose your legs just below the knee, made you lose half your ass. I wish I could lose half my ass. I'll give you half of mine.
When my brother saw the picture, he's like, "You look like a hot dog that split open." It was horrible.
But emotionally, has it with all the barriers that are in your way? Emotionally, has it drained you, mentally or physically, or any other way?
I'm drained. Of course, I'm drained. I'm constantly trying to worry about one thing after the other. Like, it was just the 29th that I was told that my appeal, I can't work on my appeal anymore because I didn't have the transcripts in time. What I did was I went through legal aid, and they said they needed the transcripts to approve me. So I assumed since they needed them, they were ordering them. So that, because I knew I wasn't lying, the judge said he is the judge who granted the apprehension order. That's gross bias. He's not supposed to have former knowledge of the case to be doing it. So he's literally tooting his own horn, basically, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I said they could apprehend them. I have to be right. And, yeah, so I don't even have the ability to turn around and defend myself against that because I didn't have $7,000 or so dollars to get that.
Otherwise, you'd have your kids back.
Well, when you're going for legal aid for something like an appeal, you have to have merit to do it. So they send the information off to another lawyers, and they do what's called a 30-day merit. Well, they check if there's if that's grounds to go ahead and have an appeal. If they think you can win, they'll give you a lawyer. So my 30-day merit came back, and then they sent it to legal aid's own lawyers for a 30-day merit. And the lawyer's the one who called me on May 1st saying, oh, well, if that's the case, that's gross bias. Like, he got me the judge who ordered that and then turned around and did this. And I mean,
would that be a breach of conflict?
That's a conflict of interest. That's why they have to recuse themselves. And the judge didn't recuse himself. He saw it and then saw fit to say right in his statement that he was the judge who granted the apprehension. So literally nothing about my case was done right. Like, my ex-boyfriend, the lawyer that was our children's lawyer, used to be his lawyer when he was fighting his ex for rights for kids. So that's a lawyer-client confidentiality breach right there, right? Can't go against someone who you represented. Everything about our case was done illegally. And that's the same thing with every other situation, right? Like, I spent so many years trying to learn law and everything. Get into family court, and they
law is so convoluted.
I got into family court, and they're like, oh, she's talking about the rules of court. This isn't court. This is family court.
Same deal. It's just not a criminal.
No, it's not the same deal because the laws are in family court are made by other judges' decisions. So case law. And because I couldn't get this appeal across, there's now case law out there that says the Children's Services can intentionally do stuff like giving my underage son, 17, his entire rec fund, and then when he's drinking and doing drugs, tell me he's 17, he's just going to do those things, and make me sit there and watch him hurting himself, getting drunk and high with this money, calling me names and stuff when he's drunk and high, until I get so mad that I'm like, you know what you did? You forgot to put the effing litter in, like, there was no litter in your cat box, you know? And he being in his state was, oh, you swore at me, so you have to clean yourself. I said, get out, get the F out. That's what they took my baby for, is me being mad that he had like cat shit end up all over, and then if my baby would touch it, he could have been in the hospital or dead because it's toxic to babies. So for yelling at him out of total exasperation after like a week of dealing with this because they gave him all that money, they turned around and took my son from me for yelling.
That sucks.
And that's if that, with that case law out there, they have the right to tell people to harm themselves and harm their children, and then take their children for it. So I mean, really, losing this appeal was probably the most
Devastating.
not just to me, to everyone.
Yeah.
It's on case file now. So yeah, I'm going through a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm still fighting. I'm still trying to.
Good.
Still trying to stand.
Yeah. But does it help having new friends to say, hey, you know, we're there for you?
It was very wonderful meeting you today. I have some new friends that are in my son's apartment building that are pretty good there for me. So, I mean, I'm still growing. I have a lot of pain. Some days just don't want to get out of bed when I think about my kids and what they've gone through and what they're going through.
And what they might go through.
In my case, Children's Services took the kids against the legislation, took my son out of his community and moved him to the town his father lives in. After I woke up and told them I was trying to stop him from kidnapping him. And after I lost my feet, they put him right under his nose.
That's
where
like
they knew he
dangling
was
a goddamn carrot in front of the rabbit and telling him you can't have this.
They put him right under his nose, knowing he was drinking and doing drugs, refusing to alcohol and drug test him, and then used in court that I still talk with him because I was trying to keep him clean and sober so he wouldn't hurt our son if he went to visit. Use that as I'm still associating with the person who did this to me so I won't keep my son safe. It's like, how can you not see that as the opposite? You're the ones who are letting him see him drunk and high.
No, not yet.
I'm the one trying to stop him from doing that. I'm risking myself still to try and protect my son, but you're telling me that, oh, I'm the danger because I still talk to him? How else am I going to protect him from people doing that to my kid? So yeah, I've been through quite a bit, and I need a little bit of help right now, and thank you for finding me and all your support and help, and hopefully this video makes a difference. And
What is the biggest thing that you want people to know about you when it comes to all you've been through? Just sum it up in a few words.
I'm pretty hard to kill.
As in,
So don't try anymore, okay, please. I've had enough.
The biggest lesson that you can give these people. What is the biggest lesson that they can take home, especially if they're going through what you've gone through, what I've been through?
It's a hard battle. It's hard to find people who will listen, who will care, and who will help. So we need to kind of stick together and find means to help each other, because most people will never understand. You look at me and you think, oh well, she's sitting there with a sign. She doesn't look homeless. I'm not homeless because I haven't got that far yet. That doesn't mean I won't be if things still go bad. I mean, it's terrifying. So I need help.
Would you say that when it comes to being in abusive situations of any kind, that there are people out there that as long as you reach out for help, that there's always going to be someone in your corner saying, hey, let me help you out and get you the fuck out of here, or anything.
I would love to say that, but I was in a small town.
Yeah.
Right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of people are there, but when I was in the small town situations and stuff, it was, I was told, don't talk to him. But you know, when I went to the hospital, after I lost my feet and I talked to the psychiatrist there, she told me that was the worst advice anyone could ever give you.
Yes.
Because if you stop talking to them, you're acting like they don't matter, then you don't matter to them. And she said if you would have stopped talking, you wouldn't just be losing your feet. You'd be dead right now.
So basically, if you're in an abusive relationship, you're basically saying, even if the narcissistic bastard that you're with, male or female or whatever, says, don't do this, don't do that, and don't tell anyone about our relationship, you reach out and you tell people, you talk, you reach out like a stuck pig, and you reach out
and tell people,
get people to help you get out before things get really bad.
My circumstance was really so much different because I was threatened that if we fight or anything, my son won't come home. If I tell the police that something's happening, my son won't come home. So it's literally under terrorist threat to do anything.
Yeah, that's narcissistic.
But if I could have felt safe to call the police, if I could have felt that my son wouldn't be hurt more because I did, then I would have. I wasn't allowed to. And that's not right.
And that's the problem with abusive relationships. Is
that's the problem with children's services turning around and saying you're not allowed to, or we'll keep your son longer. That's sick. I needed to be able to call for help. I needed to be able to say, hey, maybe it's not going to happen, but I've got suspicions it's going to happen.
I mean,
I needed to be able to protect myself. I needed to be able to protect my son.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to. I told Children's Services I wanted to run with my son. They said, no, get a parenting order. So you're telling me get a parenting order so someone I know is...
Or a restraint order, too, right?
Is messed up on alcohol and drugs, has a right to see him every... whatever they say. No, I don't want to be forced to let my son see him in that condition. No, I wanted to run. I didn't need a parenting order. I needed a protection order. But that's the way they work, is they don't actually care. They actually told me, we're not here to worry about the parents. Our concern is the well-being of the child.
What about the well-being of the parent? Because that is a part of the well-being of the child. I mean,
I would think, but
when I was a kid, or actually, when I was a kid, my parents were, let's just say their relationship wasn't that great, right? And I can see this happening because even though my parents did try to be good parents, they weren't cream of the crop. They did their best. They had me really young. And let's just face it, kids at 17, dumb, right? So by the time I was 13, my parents divorced, and it was very ugly. And you're this little kid in the mess of a whole lot of shit, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't understand. You don't know what the hell's going on. One week you're at your dad's visiting, and he suddenly has custody over you, and then the next month you are now living with your mom because she has custody. It's like a whole backwards thing. It's a different world. And when I got married to my first husband, he was very narcissistic. So he threatened that if I ever told anyone what he did to me, what happened in our house, or if I tried to leave, I'd be not here. That's what I mean by narcissistic. My husband literally told me that if I said anything to anybody, I'd be pretty much
not my ex who did this to me, but my ex-husband, who I was with before that, he told me that Children's Services thinks he's the cat's meow, and they better continue to feel that way, because if they don't, they're not going to believe me. They're going to believe him, and he's going to take my kids, and I'm never going to see them again. So you know what you're talking about there?
Yeah, that's narcissism.
Helplessness.
Yeah,
Like, what do you
very,
do?
I mean, the only way I could escape was on the red eye on the Greyhound.
Yeah, I had
And-
8 kids. I really couldn't do that.
Yeah, and that's the problem when you have kids in the mix. It's hard for moms to get away from their abusers and their narcissistic husbands, because they don't have that freedom. They don't have that control, and I can see why so many women would be.
I mean, it's not just that. It's the fear. How am I going to survive? How am I going to feed them? How am I going to take care of them?
Yeah,
The whole
'Cause
9 yards.
the whole 9 yards. You don't work. How do you take care of 8 kids?
Yeah. And if you have 8 kids, how do you work? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you
So
cannot
now I know.
set up a play school, I guess. Right? There you go.
You really love like a certain amount of, and I think it's 8 per person working there. So even if you set up a place, you already have 8 kids there.
Even if they're at school.
Like, what? Yeah, it's a lot.
crazy.
So I mean,
Yeah. You know, like,
but yeah.
big families like yours. Oh, wow.
But now that they're all separated and stuff, it's horrible, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
every last one of my children has suffered so much damage from being separated from each other, from being separated from us, and that damage, you know, it's hard.
How do you heal?
How do you heal? Yeah.
Where do you begin?
And how do you heal if it keeps happening? Like, if Children's Services keeps coming and pulling stuff on. It's like,
Yeah.
so
It sucks.
this is, and it's not just even my kids. My mom, my stepdad, say my dad, even my brothers. All the hurt and pain of having all those people you love and that you're close to ripped away from you.
Yeah.
It is so destructive, and
It'll destroy anybody's
it
spirit.
destroys people's lives and their
Yeah.
abilities.
Yeah.
So I mean, the damage that was done to my family when they're ripping us all apart, was like tidal waves, just
Yeah.
of people affected, and then people in the community that are even affected too, right? It's like, well, now you're a bad person because this happened to you, so you have this stigma now, and people that were your friends are like, I can't come over because I don't want my kids taken away and stuff like that, right? You know, like, it causes so much hurt and pain. And then, you know, so when I lost my 2 kids, when they adopted them out based on lies, I was on self-destructive binge. That's when I met Anthony's dad. I fought for years, didn't even date anyone for years because I wanted my kids to know that I was fighting for them the whole time. And then when my appeal was denied, I fell apart. So I tried stuff. I did drugs and stuff. But then when I found out I was pregnant with my other son, yeah, I straight up didn't want anything to do with it. Told his dad either he straightens up or stays away, and he wouldn't do it. And then Children's Services said I had to let him. So it's like I couldn't protect my son because Children's Services said I couldn't. I don't have a right to protect my son because they're involved. So I got to watch, knowing anytime he could be messed up and do something stupid, and there's nothing I can do because Children's Services is forcing me to let it happen. And then with my kid drinking and stuff, like, all they've done is try and force me to watch people I love hurt. It's like they're endangering people, and then, oh, you endangered them because you got upset about it.
Yeah.
How is that right?
It's
like
not.
it's
It's bullshit.
and if it wasn't for them doing that, I'd still have feet. So it's a government agency that caused me to lose my feet by telling me I couldn't call the police and telling me, oh yeah, you have to deal with him going to see you. I'm not going to sit by knowing he's doing drugs and alcohol and being allowed to see my son. And no, I'm just going to accept that and let him do it. No, you guys should not be doing this. You should be drug tested. As long as he looks sober at the visits, we're not doing that. That's what they told
There's
me.
a difference between looks sober and is sober, because I've met a lot of alcoholics who drink until they're blue in the face. The alcohol doesn't affect them like it would normal people.
Functioning alcoholic. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
My stepdad was a functioning alcoholic way before he met my mom. He worked a government job, okay? And he was responsible for planes going in and out of that damn airport. And if I can say that drunks can be or act very straight and function, even though they might be high off whatever drink they choose, the fact remains is that their addiction has gotten to the point where it does not faze them anymore, in the sense that it would normal people or average Joe, right?
Yeah, but the thing that I was most worried about was his methamphetamines.
Oh God, those are nasty.
Yeah,
aren't they mixed with fentanyl now?
Some of them I don't know.
Yeah, usually they are.
I've heard fentanyl has been used for everything, and people are dropping dead from it. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a scary word out there. I'm glad I'm out of that. But like, the fact that someone would go ahead and touch a kid, like when he used to lie that he was clean and come over and he would touch our baby, and then I would find that our baby was more lethargic and stuff after he left and stuff. I was terrified that if I went and took him to the hospital, that he would test positive for methamphetamines, and I was scared he might die, and I would be terrified, and I didn't want my ex anywhere near my kid because I was scared I'd lose him if I told, but I was scared he would die if he touched him. So I had every reason not to want him in his life, and they refused. They said that I have to let him see him. They told me I have to let him drink and do drugs at my house if he wanted. That's in my transcripts too. I was told I had to let my 17-year-old drink and do drugs, which is illegal. I was told that I had to leave my ex do alcohol and drugs, and that I had to be the sober caregiver. So I'm the only one who has to be sober at my house. So I have to let everybody else drink and do drugs in front of my kid. This is what that case law is allowing for them to do now, if they want to have a family. So you take someone who's not drinking and doing drugs, and you tell them they have to watch people drink and do drugs in their home.
Wow, that's fucked up.
Yeah, I think the best way to put it is one of my caseworkers, well, actually 3 of my caseworkers who've only been there like a little bit, have all said, your case reads like a personal vendetta, and most of the stuff that's happened in there has not been legal. You need a good lawyer.
Well, what I'm really hoping is that a lawyer does see this and acts on it, because anyone with a conscience, a sense of morality, a sense of humanism and empathy, that they would see this story and throw the money out the window and say, fuck it, I'm taking this woman under my wing, and she is going to get her kids back. She's going to have a nice home. She's going to get all the money and everything that is owed to her, because the system treated her like shit.
I just want my kids safe, but this is the thing. If somebody doesn't do something, that case law is out there. They have the right to turn around and lie to people, to get them to do things they've already done, to leave out the things they've done, to make them look worse, and to actually force them to watch people harming themselves in front of them in order to get children taken away.
Has any of this have you ever been told by these agencies that your disability was also part of it? Like, did they use your disability against you?
Oh, what happened with my disability, one of the things that happened with my disability is that Children's Services, no matter the fact that I was trying to keep my ex away because he did drugs and stuff, decided I was on drugs. Because instead of taking what do you call that? When you do something wrong, and instead of taking responsibility for his actions, my ex said, "Oh no, we were doing it." So they turned around.
Right there.
No, they turned around and they told my doctor that I was doing it. So when I applied for AISH, I didn't even get to see my doctor because I had no feed or anything. I phoned and he said, "Oh, I know her well enough to write it myself." So my doctor at that time went off what Children's Services told him, which was that I was high at the time.
That's a malpractice suit, wouldn't you say?
I have no clue because
I'm pretty sure it is.
I would think it would be.
Because that's a human rights violation right there.
So when I got my thing from AISH, it says I'm not in drug or alcohol addictions when I hadn't drank and done drugs for years. So literally I was denied AISH partly because I'm not in any programs for alcohol and drug abuse, because my doctor said that, oh yes, she was on drugs, and then he said he can't find the blood sample. No, that is not what happened. When the police got me to the hospital, they tried taking blood and I was so frozen that the needle wouldn't go in. So there was no blood sample. They couldn't make it hit my vein. It would just keep bouncing off. So there was no blood sample at all, and he lied that they couldn't find it. So I got denied largely because Children's Services lied to my doctor, and he believed them. So, with no evidence, no nothing, I'm supposed to go to all these things for people who are addicted to alcohol or drugs. And I didn't drink it all day. But I have a couple drinks now. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, I would be too. I don't blame you there. Seriously, like the odd
how
beer
much can
or
you
wine
lose?
Yeah. How much before you lose?
How much pain can you go through and just like not need something to go to bed once in a while?
I mean, like, I would be a raging alcoholic if I went through all of your trauma.
I couldn't do that. My kids.
But you know what I mean? Like, I'd be a raging alcoholic. And because I wouldn't know what to do if I went through half the stuff that you had gone through. Just half. I mean, like, yeah, I survived this, that, and the other, but you've been through so much. Like, I would say the ringer and then some. You were hung out to dry and then put back in the washer for another fucking run.
Well, I actually think everything happens for a reason.
That it does. That it does.
So, I mean, today was the first time I tried panhandling and I went out there and I met you. And maybe this was the reason.
I think
right?
so.
Because, I mean, how much more than what I've been through is it going to take for people to do something?
Yeah, exactly. And I intend on doing something with this video. I'm going to show it to as many people as I can, because maybe someone out there can help you.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, I don't care. You know what? I'm going through menopause. Every day is a fucking sweat box. You know, but you know what? I'm really hoping that with this video, not only does it teach people the human tenacity and the stubbornness once you've been through all that you've been through and you're still wanting to live, that you want to continue fighting and you want to fight for other people just by telling your story like I do, to teach others that sometimes, even though that you might meet one person to hear your story, that story might become viral within the community, for which might instigate certain actions, such as legal action from said Joe Schmuck lawyer down the road from Ottawa or whatever. It might get Rachel Notley off on a steam train locomotive, you don't piss me off kind of.
It would be nice if something good came out of it.
Or you might have, I don't know, Mary Renault, she ever heard this story, she'd be on the fast track to what the, you know.
It would be really nice if something good came out of this, because I mean, I don't
That's
know how
my
much
hope.
more bad I can take. I've always tried to keep positive on this, but I mean,
That's what I'm
pretty
hoping.
well hoping that I don't have any more bad to have to deal with for a while.
Well, right now you're in a home. You are eating. But
Yeah,
try
I'm an
not to
excellent
panhandle. Try not to panhandle, please.
I just
For
want
your
to
own
make sure
safety.
that if I can't get through to income support or something, that I'll still have enough to help so that we can make it through next month. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Preempted. I mean, if it was scary or something, if anything scary happened, I'm sure I would. But I mean, I was out with there's lots of people and in the shade, and you know,
It doesn't take much for some dumbass to harm you and cause harm, right? And that was my biggest thing, because I do have a big heart. And
But I'm a survivor, and I'm gonna
We are
survive
all
no
survivors.
matter what.
We are
But
all
even if I'll
survivors.
lose another limb, I mean, I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that I have what I need for my family and to make sure that I'm okay.
yeah.
And I mean, if that's what it takes for now, that's what it takes for now.
Yeah.
Until I can find a way to get the help that I should be getting, or someone listens and realizes, wow, this is not okay.
No, it's not okay.
So,
So before all this crap show happened, would you mind telling everybody what you did before when you had two legs to do it?
well, I've worked in the bar, and I did renovations, and I did painting, and I did cooking, and whatever odd jobs I could get. I mostly a lot of renovations and stuff. House cleaning.
Same thing as me, survival.
But yeah, so I mean, I can't really do renovations or paint very well because it's really not safe to crawl up on a ladder without feet.
Yeah, I can see that
I
happening.
can barely do steps.
You know, like,
But yeah, I still cook.
that's always a good thing.
I don't have a professional kitchen or I cook. I cook for everyone. I love it.
Yeah. So, I'm going to end this because, well, you probably need a smoke.
I probably do. Thank
After
you for
the-
your time and listening.
And we'll call it a day for today. You guys have a good day.
And we tell them I'm looking at it because
Have a good day, everyone. We'll catch you on the fly. So.